listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast, your weekly post-apocalyptic news roundup.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this 42nd episode of the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, and joining me once again is Bill. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Look at us. We're sitting here in this desolate wasteland cityscape, and we thought we'd get together and record a podcast. I mean, that's the most important thing in an apocalypse, right?
Exactly. Who cares about going out and scavenging and rumbling through the wastes?
Yeah.
You can sit out and talk with your buddies.
That's right, yeah. Well, we have a lot of news this week from the world of post-apocalyptic media, and it's funny because the reason I got Bill on here was, Bill's really been adamant about Y, The Last Man, which is a new show on Hulu, FX on Hulu, and so Bill's been watching that, and so I checked it out today. Actually, I just watched it, and so we're going to talk about that later in the show, and we're going to try to keep away from spoilers. I think we can do it, right?
Yeah.
I think we can do it. I'm enjoying it so far, but I think it'll be fun to just kind of talk all about it.
Yeah.
But before that, we do have some news, a little bit of news.
Mm-hmm.
We have some things that are releasing this week, like Prisoners of the Ghostland is a movie with Nicolas Cage. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago, and I think it's funny. Nicolas Cage is one of those guys, you either love him or hate him. And it's funny because
he's a million movies nowadays, right?
Yeah, and he's like this cult classic, this cult actor now. And so, I mean, this movie is no exception. It looks like in it he plays this guy, which I think he's played this role before, where he's like this ex-con who's hired for one last deal that he gets the governor, who's this character in the trailer. They show the governor comes up and he's like, I want you to save my daughter, and and if you do this for me, you can be free. It's a really kind of a basic.
Yeah, so it's Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Combined with something else that we'll probably recognize when we watch the eventual movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually has a lot of like a Japanese subculture in it, which looks really cool, a post-apocalyptic Japanese kind of a background to it. And yeah, it looks really, really cool. I mean, the visuals, like we joke about, Nicolas Cage and his cult status, but the visuals in the trailer look really amazing.
Cool.
I will definitely check it out. It comes out on Friday, which is the day that this will release, this podcast. Okay. And the thing is, I don't really know where it's coming out. It's one of those that's like, coming to digital. And it's like, what is that? Yeah. So we'll have to figure out where it's coming out exactly, but I do want to check it out. It looks pretty cool.
Is it going to be in theaters at all, or strictly digital?
I think it's coming to, let's see. I think it is coming to digital or theaters. But it's one of those that is probably in like very limited.
Yeah.
Let's see what I wrote about it. Yeah, it does. It will come out in theaters and video on demand on the 17th. And actually, it's already come out, kind of. It was in the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year.
Yeah, so there must be reviews out there that we could kind of check out too, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and actually, some people got an early review of it, or early screening of it last week, I think like Friday maybe. And so I saw a lot of reviews about it. And the reviews were kind of mixed. I didn't really read any of them. I was kind of looking at the titles of them because I didn't want to, get spoiled.
Yeah.
But it seemed like a lot of people said, well, it's a Nicolas Cage movie. He's crazy, and which is good for me. I'm like, well, that makes me want to watch it even more.
Yeah, and when it comes to post-apocalyptic media, I always, don't give a whole lot of credence to just general reviews because. They're looking at it from the perspective of whether it's a good movie compared to like all movies in general. And, from my perspective, I'm looking at, the costumes and whether I believe the scenario is, realistic and, more from a post-apoc perspective. So, they always get a few extra points in my book as long as they're part of the genre.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and it's definitely part of the genre. It's supposed to be in this post-apocalyptic scenario where he has a bomb strapped to him, and he has to save the governor's daughter in 3 days. And if he doesn't, it'll blow up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly Escape from New York.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of funny. So but the visuals look great. I don't know. I'd be interested. I also want to see it just because I want to see how close it is to Escape from New York.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully maybe one of us will put some thoughts up on the site over the weekend.
Yeah. All right, and then the next thing is we have it's an adaptation of Night of the Living Dead called Night of the Animated Dead, and this is like a graphic novel that is it's an animated version of the original. Was it 1968? I think it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
When George Romero. Now the cool thing about this is one of the original writers of the original John A. Russo. Sorry, John A. Russo is one of the original writers with George Romero for that original movie, and he's actually working on this animated version. Wow! So it seems.
Yeah, and that particular film is actually in the public domain now. I forget why it is, and it's only 50 years old. But so I mean, I guess getting the rights to it were pretty easy because they didn't need to ask anybody for it.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, it looks like it will be close to, I mean, it's following the same. It's not like a sequel or anything like that. It's a retelling of the same story but animated.
Yeah, I think I did see the trailer a while back. And I recognize the opening scene in the cemetery when the brother and Barbara are visiting the cemetery and the first zombie comes out. So I think I saw that. Yeah, I haven't heard if this is going to be sort of like a shot-by-shot remake of the original, or like you said, if it's just going to be retelling the same story with the same or similar characters. But, I do like. I'm not a huge anime fan in particular, but I like animated movies. Yeah. So the art style of this is kind of more on the just plain animation side. So I'm looking forward to checking it out.
I think at the beginning here I said it was a graphic novel. It's not a graphic novel. It's an actual animated TV show. So so strike that from the record. It's an animated TV show. And then of course we have next week also, before next time we record, Wasteland Weekend will start.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the first time Wasteland Weekend has been back since the pandemic. Since they skipped last year. Mm-hmm. And I went in 2019. So I was there last time it was out, or last time it happened. And so this will be the first time since 2019. And a lot of people are very excited. I mean, they've been built up all this this creativity and all this stuff. They want to get it out, and so that'll be starting next Wednesday.
Yeah, because all these guys, like you said, they work on their costumes, for the whole year, and now they had a year off where they had so much extra time to add some extra flourishes or maybe throw on an extra weapon or something. So you would expect everything to be even a level higher than it has been in the past years.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, but the truth is we probably all just start making our costume a week before. That's how it goes.
Yeah, I have a friend who stops by the Discord once in a while. He's been part of the genre for a long time, so he is also going to be going, and he keeps trying to get me to go every year. This is I think it's going to be his 5th time. They go like every other year or so. But he keeps trying to get me to go, like wants me to fly to Oregon and then drive down together. But haven't done it yet. But maybe at some point in the future, after the kids are gone, maybe I can, finally have some time to do this kind of thing. Yeah,
it's quite an undertaking. I know I've talked about it on the show before, but it's I drove cross country both times I went, and I trailered a vehicle both times.
Okay, yeah.
And that is. I mean, I was like, go big or go home, and it was almost too big, doing all that work and everything. But I'm glad I did. Oh yeah, It's
I mean, because you have to like carry in your own water and stuff, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
3 days worth of water.
Yeah,
And that's
everything.
crazy.
And you have to take it
Yeah.
back out. Like if you, I mean, they have porta potties there, so you're not taking that out, but everything else you're taking out. All your trash. I mean, it's cigarette butts. They get crazy if they see cigarette butts all over the ground. They're like, you have to take all that stuff out of there because it's literally just open desert before and after the event. So.
Wow, that must be pretty awesome to see, though. Like if you I know they put out calls for volunteers all the time. So if you if you do volunteer, then you can get free entry. Mm-hmm. But then to be able to see it go from just flat ground to as they're building, the walls and that one main Wasteland Weekend sign that they use in all their photos, and then see a whole city sprout up and then have it all tear down again just a few days later. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of people who work on the set of it are actual Hollywood, set producers who go out there and build it. To me, the most amazing part of that, like the most immersive part, is at night when you go around and there's everything is lit up and there's neon and you just think,
Wow.
a week ago this was nothing, or 2 weeks ago, this was nothing. And now it's a city. It looks like, Thunderdome.
Bartertown, yeah.
Yeah, Bartertown. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to get there one day. Maybe we can coordinate, get Derek and Steph over there and have.
Oh yeah. That would be cool if we all went out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tax deduction, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that's pretty much the stuff that's coming up. Things that happened already this week. We had season 2, episode 3. Did you watch that at all?
I did.
Did you like it?
Yeah, definitely. Just again, without spoiling, just for those who haven't caught up or haven't, got onto the show yet, just, going way back. Again, this is a couple hundred years in the future. The virus wiped out, what they say, like 99% of the population.
Yeah.
Those that were alive are blind. That's the whole deal, is everybody's blind except for a handful of people. So now we're in season 2. And, in season 1, there was just a lot of kind of more rural action, like villages up in the mountains, and then maybe a couple of sets where, supposed to be their cities. In season 2, to me, it just seems a little more expansive because, now we get to see an actual city, which, we can tell, just in the opening credits, you can see in the sign that it's Pittsburgh, that, that's where the city is. So yeah, the sets are huge, and there's hundreds of people walking around, and then they travel to another city, which I believe is State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State is. And so yeah, this season just seems a lot more expansive, and it's the first season was kind of just escape from the bad guy, and this season has that, but also some sort of more political intrigue and power struggles, and who's gonna be king or queen, and that sort of a thing. So I think the show as a whole is bigger, and it's also like bloodier and kind of gorier, and that scene where he's teaching his son how to tell from the sound if you've actually killed your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not like, if you can hear that rip, then he's dead. And I was like, oh, okay. But I'm liking it.
I'm loving it. I think it's a lot like Game of Thrones at this point. It's kind of going in that direction. And like you said, the gory part, I wrote about this in an article where they had a lot of reviews where people were saying it's too gory. And I feel like they're going, okay, you want to see gory?
Yeah.
Here you go. Let's describe the sound when someone dies. Yeah. So, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's better than season 1. I loved season 1, and I think it's going in a better direction, like you said.
Yeah, I would totally be happy to be on a spoiler cast if you were to do one for C.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. What else?
So, what? I was just going to say, I think there's, 10 episodes in the season, and we just finished season 3, so we've got, episode 3 we've just finished, so I think we've got quite a bit of C season left, so.
Yeah, and when this comes out,
watching it yet.
episode 4 will be out. So yeah, that's yeah. And so it's almost halfway done. Oh, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
almost, yeah. But like you have mentioned before on previous podcasts, they have already announced while they were filming season 2 that they have in fact been renewed for season 3,
Yeah.
and they're already starting to film that as well. So
Yep.
season 3 sometime in 2022.
Yeah, yeah, that will be cool. Very, very cool.
Yep.
Let's see. There was some other news that we actually didn't cover on the site that I wanted to talk about. The first one, just a little quick little blurb. The next Mad Max movie, the prequel called Furiosa, which is supposed to cover before any of the other movies. It was supposed to come out in June of 2023, and it's actually been pushed to May 24th, which is really specific, of 2024. So we basically another year.
Yeah, they haven't even started filming that one yet.
Yeah.
When I saw the article about the pushback, I didn't notice or didn't read enough to see if they had mentioned why, if it's just pandemic related delays, or if there's anything with the sets or the locations. Like when they were filming Fury Road, they had that problem where the desert sprouted a bunch of grass and trees and stuff, and so they couldn't film there and they had to move. I haven't heard if any of that sort of thing is affecting Furiosa, but whatever it is, hopefully they get it worked out and they finally get cameras rolling pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's just George Miller. I think that's just how he does it. But I mean, look at Fury Road. We waited so long for that, and it was a great movie.
That was worthwhile.
Yeah. So hopefully, this isn't going in that same direction.
Yeah.
One, and then the last little piece of news I wanted to talk about was, this is it's interesting. So SpaceX has a all-citizen flight that's going out tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be the day before people hear this. And one of the people on that flight is a doctor named Cian Proctor. And her connection to us as post-apocalyptic fans is she was in the second season of The Colony, that reality show. Did you ever see that? You ever watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that. And that was the season where they went to Louisiana right after the hurricanes, and they survived out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was remembering the LA one, but yeah. They were in those camps and.
Yeah.
That was actually sort of a cool show.
I love that show. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a reality usually. I mean, not that sort where they have a bunch of people and then they get mad at each other or they fight and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that they had the fake raids and they had to respond to those, and I know in season 1 they actually had one of the cast members kidnapped and removed from the show, and then the other guys had to deal with it as a real loss. But it's interesting. So when she was on the show, I wonder, did she do well because she's already, was she like an engineer, or this is like 15 years ago, isn't it?
She's a geologist, I think.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, didn't that air a long time ago?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, let's see. 2010.
Oh, is that all? Wow.
Yeah, so 11 years ago.
Okay, good. It's only 11 years. Felt like longer.
You're like me. You're like, 2010, that was like last year. You're like, wait, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so she is going to be one of the first citizens on this SpaceX flight. I think that's pretty amazing.
Post-apoc veteran in space.
Yeah. So she knows how to survive. That's for sure.
Yeah, they'd have to. It would be cool if they played some kind of gag on her where when they came back, they had a Statue of Liberty kind of in the dirt, so when she came out of her capsule, she could see it.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Okay, so cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Y, The Last Man then.
Oh yeah.
It's so. Why don't you give the intro for what it's all about for anyone who doesn't know?
Okay, so yeah, without spoiling, major things, basically the story is based on a comic that ran from 2002 to 2008. It's regarded as one of the best comics of all time, so it has a really strong fan base and following. There have been many attempts over the years to get a TV show produced, And that effort finally came to fruition when the current version, the Why the Last Man TV series, premiered on FX on Hulu this past, technically Monday, but Sunday evening for most of us. So the basic premise of the show is that basically simultaneously and instantaneously, all male mammals around the world basically just drop dead. Anything with a Y chromosome just bleeds out, and the world is left populated by only women, with the exception of one man, Yorick Brown, and his pet, I guess you pronounce it capuchin monkey, named Ampersand. So Yorick is Y the Last Man, and he hangs out with his monkey Ampersand, and shenanigans prevail over the course of the post-Y apocalypse.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's all male mammals are gone, and it's just female left. And I think, from what I guess I didn't read the comics. Did you read the comics?
Yes, I did. But as I mentioned before, I'm sort of blessed and cursed at the same time, that when I read something, I kind of remember the high levels, but I don't remember all the details. Mm-hmm. So that lets me go back and reread things, which I do constantly, and re-enjoy it. But so I'm like trying to go through the first few episodes of the show and trying to remember how it relates to the comic, and I don't remember enough about the comic to remember how closely we're tracking it. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just in the most general terms, so far we've, kind of seen the apocalypse, and we've been introduced to the various characters. We have a road trip set up, which is, hopefully gonna, take us to different locations around the country. And, at the same time, I think one of the things that is sort of new from the TV show that was not in the comic was all of this political power struggle that we're going to see in the show, and kind of the fight over who the legitimate president is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that there's some pretty major parts that stray from the comic. Mm-hmm. And again, I haven't read the comics at all, so I don't know. And I kind of like that, because I'd like to just enjoy this as its own thing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think overall, like I said, I just watched it today, and I really enjoy. I think the acting and the environment and all that stuff, the effects, is really, really well done. It's a very high level production, and I really like it. Politics aside, because it does have a very political side to it.
Yeah.
Politics aside, I think it's really good. I think it's really well done. But there's a whole part to it that is just like, I guess when you go into it and you look at this on the surface, you would think, oh, this is maybe an anti-man show or something, where they're getting rid of all the men and it's just women. And it's not really like that. I didn't pick up on that, too much. It seems they're really kind of treasuring Yorick, and they're protecting him because he's, as far as they know, the last man. And and like you said, they're setting up this road trip. And this isn't really a spoiler, because it's something they showed in the trailer. They're trying to figure out why he's the last man. Why did he survive? And his monkey, why did they survive? And every single other man didn't. So that's the thing. That's kind of the adventure of the whole series, and what we need to find out. And I don't know. I'm definitely going to watch more of it. I'm definitely going to follow through and watch the whole thing, just to see how the story goes.
Yeah. I was going to say, trying to remember, is this the one where the showrunner said they'd like to have 5 seasons, or am I thinking of another show?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, they said they'd like to do 5 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's only 10 episodes in this first season.
Yeah.
And, going on the comic, there's a long road trip in the comic. I mean, basically, as far as you can go on the planet is where they go in the comic. And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully we're going to get to see all that in the show. And one thing that I hope they do in the show, and I'm reminded of this because I was reading a thread on the Why the Last Man subreddit on Reddit, and somebody had posted that they don't really understand why things are as bad as they are, given that only half the population has died. And the guy who posted this on Reddit was wondering, why all the women just didn't band together and start everything back up again. And then, from all the replies, I'm reading through them and I'm really realizing like how bad it would really be. Like, just the fact that the roads are blocked. So even if they did get the farms running, they couldn't get the trucks into the cities, which is where all the people are. And so like in my mind, as I was falling asleep last night, I was thinking about post-apocalypses as I normally do. And I was thinking like, I can't think of a worse possible scenario in terms of an apocalypse as far as who died and how many of them died, in terms of how bad it would be for the survivors.
Yeah.
Like this is the worst possible scenario for the outcome of, if you survived the original one, what are your chances of surviving, a couple of months? Like, in this case, 50% of the people died, which I think is the worst. But, if only 20% of the people had died, that means, people would be around to restart factories and power stations and stuff. And like if, maybe 80% of the people had died, then, you only have, 20% of the population left. Maybe it's not enough to restart everything, but then you need so much less resources because you have, less survivors trying to fight over, the scraps. Mm-hmm. But, having exactly 50% of the population alive and, having all the men who, as they point out, are, the ones that work in the nuclear power plants and the coal factories and, the farms and that sort of thing, the majority of the workers. It's just the worst possible scenario. So basically where I'm going with this is, the population of the United States is, 330 million? Is that what we're at nowadays? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, 165 million people die immediately. I'm sure there were millions of women, that died in the incident as well, like when planes crashed or bus crashed or whatever. So you have like maybe 150 million. That's a lot of people to kind of show, like, as you're going through cities and towns, they're going to be half full. And I'm wondering how they're going to do that from a production standpoint where, are they going to, try and just tell us that, another 100 million of those have already died, due to starvation or whatever. And so that's why things look so empty.
Yeah.
Because even in these first 3 episodes, they were following one of the characters. I think her name was Nora. She was like an aide to the former president. And, she goes back to her house and that neighborhood looks totally empty. Like there's no other neighbors coming out to, say hi or when, to hear their car and run out and ask them where they're going and stuff.
Yeah.
And, there should be hundreds of people living in that neighborhood. And one interesting thing is, we have seen Yorick walking around New York City a bit. Because in these first 3 episodes, again, it's not a huge spoiler because it's early, but we basically jump to 2 months after the incident. And so, he's walking around New York 2 months in the future, and it is basically empty, which you would expect there to be millions of people, still in New York.
Yeah. But
they do explain that they, New York is already, literally falling apart because the water table is rising without, pumps to the waters that fill up the subway tunnels, and it's undermining building foundations, and buildings are falling. And so they've been blanketing the city with leaflets telling people to evacuate. And they even say that there's only 80,000 people left in the city, which is, I guess, why, while Yorick is walking around, we see, so few people there. But, while, Yorick and Agent 355 are on their trip to go find, the doctor that they're looking for, I'm wondering, are they going to find kind of desolate, unpopulated areas, or are we going to see kind of large-scale crowds and groups, which is much harder to film and much more expensive to have all those extras and such.
Yeah.
Or are they just gonna somehow kind of keep it on a smaller scale?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they have the opportunity to go big, and like you said, it's a well produced show, so
yeah,
hopefully they have the budget to kind of show us some big aspects of the apocalypse.
Yeah, and I do like how they explain that away, where they, the buildings are collapsing, so they have to get people out of there. They have to evacuate. But I was thinking the same thing. Like even in that neighborhood, the neighborhood scenes, they're sitting out in their car in the middle of the road, and there's no one anywhere. And you're like, there's at least probably one person left in each household, at least, maybe 2 or 3. And because
where would you go? I mean, people always say they would leave the cities, but there are people that are not in the cities that don't want the city folk coming over. And, with no new food being produced other than what you can pull out of the ground, people are going to have a hard time in this world of why. So there's a lot that they could show us. And if it goes for 50 episodes, if they make it to 5 seasons, we could see a lot of cool scenes and cool scenarios. And so, if you haven't yet, go out and watch it. Keep those ratings up and make sure we get future seasons.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's depending on those 5 seasons, is if people like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the greatest show ever made. I don't think it's, it's not like Walking Dead or anything, but it's, not that Walking Dead is the greatest show ever made, but I don't think it's to that level. But I think it's good enough to follow through. I think it's interesting enough. It has some, even in these first 3 episodes, it has some twists and turns that that you probably didn't expect, and it makes it interesting enough to want to keep watching, So
yeah. One thing, since you mentioned Walking Dead, that I do think they do better than Walking Dead, and part of it is just because we're a few years advanced, but the CGI for Ampersand is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course I knew he was going to be CG, but when I, saw the little monkey character running around, I was thinking like, wow, this is good. Way better than Shiva looked in The Walking Dead, a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking the same thing, because he was originally supposed to be a real monkey, and then they decided to make him CGI. And I remember that same thing when they showed him in episode 1. I'm like, oh, they did a pretty good job with him. I mean, you can tell a little bit if you really look, but if you weren't looking,
Yeah. I did look at, or I saw an article that had a behind-the-scenes shot where one of the producers is like crouching down on the sidewalk as the stand-in for Ampersand while Yorick is like talking to him. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah. So overall, what would you, if you were to rate this, kind of these first 3 episodes out of 10?
Yeah. So like you said, like if I had a choice, say they all came out on the same night, would I fire up the newest episode of The Walking Dead, or C, or another recent show like a Snowpiercer, or this one? I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'd rate Snowpiercer higher, definitely rate C higher. I would put C higher than Walking Dead for a lot of it, at least in the post-Rick era. Maybe it's, in that list it would be like number 4, but, like I said, we're only 3 episodes in. We've only seen, the character introductions and the real basic storylines. So, they still have, a shot to become one of the great ones. But, hopefully we get to see it.
Yeah, and so a new episode, like you said, there will be 10 episodes, and a new one will be coming out every Sunday night, Monday night, whatever, or Monday morning, whatever, it's supposed to be midnight, like Monday.
Steph's article says, Monday Eastern, 12 a.m. Eastern, which luckily for me is 6 p.m. Sunday, so I got to watch all 3 episodes Sunday night.
Oh, nice.
And so I'll basically watch them Sunday, and I did put up some thoughts on the post-apocalypticmedia.com website, and I do intend to keep putting up an article each week with a quick recap of the most recent episode and some thoughts on it. So
cool.
I'll be posting those on Sunday night my time. So whether you watch the episode Sunday, of course, don't come and read my article until after you've seen the latest, but come in, maybe I can give you some insights you might have missed, or drop a comment if I miss something, and then I can bring it up in the next article. So
yeah,
I know you're doing the same type of thing for Walking Dead, so
yeah.
I was inspired by your articles to start up some of my own. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sit and watch it with my wife when they come out on Sunday night, and then I'll take notes, and I'll be pausing it and writing down notes, and she's like,
yeah, exactly.
Can we just watch the show?
Yeah, it took me like 4 hours to watch the 3 episodes that came out, because I had to pause and rewind and like, oh, did they say that? And then turn the subtitles on to make sure I heard it right, and then turn the subtitles off. And but it's what we go through to make sure that readers of the website are getting high quality content.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. All right. Well, I'm going to do, speaking of that, I'm going to do a separate podcast just for The Walking Dead like I did last week. And I'm just going to talk about the latest episode, which is not, it's the one that it's on AMC Plus. So it'll be like 1 week ahead of, if you don't have AMC Plus, which I think is 5. So I'll be doing that one right after this, recording that. So look for that as well. But I want to thank you, Bill, for coming on the show. It's great, always great to talk to you, and especially about when we can talk about things we love like this, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great time. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. It's another, we like to keep these probably under 45 minutes, and I think we've been doing pretty good at that. So thanks everyone for watching. Check us out on post-apocalyptic.com. We're on every kind of social media you can imagine. So check us out there. And as always, stay alive out there and always be ready for the big one. Thanks, everyone.
And have a nice apocalypse.
Yes, nice apocalypse.